Good evening, fellow heretics. Welcome to the newest edition of Words Are Hard and Nerds and Heresy. I'm host Captain. Shit, I am sucking at this today. I haven't slept in like 3 days, you guys. Welcome to this edition of Nerds and Heresy. I'm your host, Captain Dadpool, and my co-host, Crimson Barrel. Tonight's guest is the one and only Old Scratch. The real Old Scratch. That's it, right?
Yes, the one and only real Old Scratch.
TikTok Satan, everybody. That's who you know him by. And he has blessed us with his blasphemous presence, and we are honored to have it. So, Satan, I'm just going to call you Satan. Why don't you take the next few minutes and let everybody know who you are and what you got going on in your life?
Gladly. So my number one reason for being here today with a bunch of atheists is to prove to all you that I do in fact exist. I've been told several times and watched several of your videos, and it's starting to get a little hurtful. I'm over here just making TikToks, living my best life, and next thing I get a Crimson Barrel video come across my feed telling me, by the way, Satan doesn't exist. Satan is actually this being called Hillel, and dead naming me. It's just talk like that makes that really just gives atheists a bad name. I hope you understand that there are real people that you are hurting out here, real extraplanar entities out here that you are hurting with your rhetoric and with your videos, and I hope that you feel good about yourselves. But anyways, I'm actually here to have fun and talk. But real talk, guys. I go by Real Old Scratch on my TikToks, and I go, and I say I'm TikTok Satan. But my real name is Lawrence Hicks. I'm not afraid to reveal that. It's a. Did y'all hear that? Okay, there's a noise cancellation on here, but there's a thunderstorm outside.
You sure you didn't make God angry or something?
Well, I think having this many atheists in one place is actually making somebody angry.
That's probably something to that.
And it's the moment I reveal my real name, it's like. But anyways, yeah, my name is Lawrence Hicks, and I am an author, a fantasy author, and I got a couple books out. It's what I do for a living, but I make TikToks on the side for fun. TikTok Satan is just a very small portion of who I actually am, and yeah, and I'm here to have fun, talk about the Satanic Panic and how it never ended with a couple of my favorite TikTokers. Crimson Barrel and Captain Deadpool. Let me just say that I've learned more from you guys about my religion growing up. I've never learned this much about my religion growing up. And I was so immersed in it as a child and as a high school kid that I thought I knew everything. And I've learned more about Christianity and religion in general from you guys as an adult atheist than I ever did as a high school kid. So that's about all I got to say.
We're glad we could help you out with that.
Just want to state for the record that I'm not an atheist, though. I get mistaken for one constantly because I have common sense and logic and critical thinking skills. But
I'm sorry, you are actually a druid, and I have what's the word? Mistheist
labeled.
Mistheisted me.
No. Yeah, I don't believe in anything just because I'm dead inside. So, and people are like, "Is it okay if I'm spiritual?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'm not spiritual just because I'm dead inside."
No, fuck you. You're spiritual.
So good for you. Good on you. You're the better person. Satan. I thought for sure you were not real. Like all this education I'd received, it told me that you were this mythological figure that was borrowed from all these other mythologies. You were like this poo-poo platter of like Canaanite mythology and Sumerian theology, and then later Christian. And you just ended up being this massive something that became completely unrecognizable. And I was like, it's all fake. But then I downloaded TikTok and I started seeing you, and I was like, holy shit, is real. And then you reached out and we reached out to you, and you agreed to come on the show. So I'm blown away. I'd like to apologize to everybody for being wrong about your existence. And I'm interested to learn more about you.
Well, thank you. It really takes a big man to admit when he's wrong. And, it's not like you had any reason to think I was real. I haven't exactly been very apparent in in the modern world as God has. It's kind of weird how so many things happened just in the Middle East about 2,000 years ago and then just stopped happening altogether. So,
yeah,
it's
among the uneducated masses, like,
oh, absolutely.
God never appears in China or anything, when they were a much larger literate population. Just a weird connection I can't help but make.
And I've gone to great lengths to completely fuck with humanity and just mess with my own depiction in the Bible, mess with the Bible, and of course it's worked. I mean, look how many atheists there are now. Look how bad Christianity is deconstructing over the years. It's working.
You're gonna take credit for Jesus being gay in the Bible, because that would make a lot of sense. I think people.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Sorry, Yeshua.
Yeah. Okay, I remember. The fact that people still believe that there was a Jesus. Oof.
Well, yeah, but in the Bible, he's still depicted as cuddling with another man, and whole washing the feet of his disciples, which it's an allegory for oral sex. So, among other things.
Oh yeah. Fan fiction, man. Fan fiction.
It's
all fan fiction. Anyways,
we have a very close and personal connection at this point now with one of the biggest victims of Satanic Panic, which is Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know how many people know or remember that in the 80s, especially, and then even in the 90s. There was this misconception that people who played D&D were like sacrificing cats to Satan. And it's just a bunch of nerds in their mom's basement, rolling some dice and having fun.
Well, let's give a little background for those who are watching who don't know. What exactly, Scratch, do you want to lead this? Let everybody know what exactly the Satanic Panic was, where it started, where the state that it's at now.
Yes. The Satanic Panic, it happened before I was born, showing my age a little bit. It was in an ancient time known as the 1980s. But you could argue it started before that. I mean, if you think about it, if going back to whenever the Left Behind books and the whole rapture thing was becoming popular and kind of warping Christianity as we know it over the decades, you can say that that's when it started in a way in popular media, or at least in pop culture. But I don't think it really became a panic until around the 80s, whenever rock music was not just rock music, it was becoming metal, where like they used to make fun of like how Buddy Holly was a satanic figure because his music was, I don't know, upbeat, I guess. But then you have stuff like Dio, where you have actual Satan. Shit. Told you he was bad. We have actual Satan like on the covers of these metal albums, and they're making songs about Satan. And it was kind of like the smoking gun for them, and it made it so much worse. And so they started to see Satan everywhere. They would see him. It was kind of like how people see, the Virgin Mary and tortillas and shit. They would start seeing Satan in barcodes. Every time they saw 666 in a barcode, you best believe they thought that was a satanic product of some kind. And, so they would start to essentially what we would call today cancel things. They would cancel Dungeons and Dragons. They would cancel the Ninja Turtles of all things. They would cancel Rainbow Bright. Pokemon got it real bad in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Like there are some clips that I was going over trying to remember or research stuff for this topic. And they were talking about how Pokemon was bad, not just because it had evolution in it, but because one of the creators of Pokemon actually said that he did take some demonic influence, but that's because there are some Pokemon in there that are like ghosts and stuff. It's not like like every Pokemon is based on a demon. It's just that a couple of them were, but that's all they needed. Once they had that interview, that was the smoking gun. They said this Pokemon is and has been confirmed to be of the devil, but not Digimon. Digimon's fine. And it continually got worse and worse and worse to the point where people were actually put in prison for decades for being assumed to be devil worshipping crazy people, and under completely false allegations. And they were only just recently released. There was a couple of people, an actual couple. One of them was a teacher. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but they were in prison from the 80s all the way up until about 2016 for false allegations of satanic worship and being tied to these murders that never really had any evidence tied to them. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, drink.
Uh-oh.
Where's the soundbite?
I had my mic muted. That's what happened. Whoop!
Did that happen last time?
I think so.
Yeah, I think like on that, Harry Potter was like sort of a residual effect from that. Like that's kind of where it bled into. Go drink again. What? That's sort of where it blended into the 2000s, I think.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what we were talking about today is how the satanic panic, like some people will look back and was like, those were the days, weren't they? It was crazy times. And they don't realize it's still here. You know, it's like with you had the Golden Compass or, His Dark Materials. You had Harry Potter. To be fair, His Dark Materials was blatantly anti-theist in its themes, but Harry Potter definitely wasn't. And of course, today, just by recent standards, Little Nas X, that video that people will not stop tagging me in. Stop. Please. I've seen it. Everyone in the world has seen it. Stop tagging me in that video. But yeah, it's still happening today. It's just that people have gotten so used to hearing it. Whenever something obviously devil related comes out, we just assume that people are going to go crazy about it. The Karens are going to go into an uproar about it, and we've gone nose blind to it. So it's still here. We're just blind to it now.
It's amazing how differently you see things, like being a dedicated member of the church for so long, and now being on the outside looking in. It's amazing how different things seem now. Like, I didn't realize the hypocrisy in my own church that I do now. Like, they always teach, like, there's no fear. You don't need to be afraid of anything. God is all powerful. He's got your back. The demonic forces have no power over you. But they always seem to be on the lookout for the next boogeyman, the next monster under the bed. Oh, well, now there's the Golden Compass was a big one. I remember they're like, he wants to kill God in the eyes of children, and things like that. Like, why are we always like picking out these? We're not supposed to be afraid of them, right? Like, but it's now I see it as a hypocrisy, but as back then I saw it as spiritual warfare, and now I feel like an idiot for feeling that way. But that's how indoctrination works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a little sad. Like, I can't remember who said this. It was a seminar that I watched on YouTube, but he said something along the lines of, I think his name was Alex something. He says it's a little sad when you have like imaginary friends, right? Like it's kind of funny, but it's a little sad. But it's even worse when you're a Christian and you have imaginary enemies.
That's good.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're doing is like they want to have an imaginary enemy. And I can understand why, and not only for control's reason, but they want to be able to blame their shortcomings on somebody. It's like, how they want Satan to be the scapegoat, because at that point, Jesus died for something. Jesus died, to beat somebody. And it kind of makes Jesus into this hyper masculine figure when he's got this big, tough, big, red dragon monster to fight at the end of the Revelation, and not just be killed by the Romans. It makes more sense to them when they have this big, mean Sauron enemy to fight against.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, real quick, I want to mention to everyone in the comments, if y'all have a question you want to ask, feel free. We can definitely tie that in with our little discussion. Like, you guys are not excluded from this, so feel free to do that. If you got a question for Scratch, I'm sure he'll do his best to answer.
I did want to
let everyone know too. I'm nowhere near as well read as these two gentlemen here. So,
but you're an author of multiple books, so shut your whore mouth. Right?
Well, they're fantasy books. They're not literature.
No,
people might want to know about that.
Requires a lot of.
Takes a lot of. I am well aware now of how much fucking discipline and motivation it takes to write, because I am a few chapters deep in 3 different books, and I have to fight the urge to, like, I'll think of a new idea and I'm like, ooh, I want to write about that. And it's like, no. Put that synopsis away, file that, come back to it later. You got to focus. And so I wanted to get into something in particular, especially you just made the comment about imaginary enemies, which I love that. That should be on a shirt. In that the origins of the Satanic Panic in the 80s in particular sort of started with this book called Michelle Remembers, which I put in the description of the video. And in it, a psychiatrist claimed that he had treated this girl who had been abused by the Church of Satan, and they held like ritual ceremonies and sacrifices and like tortured her endlessly. And it got like huge international media coverage and made him, probably millions of dollars. And after the book came out, it was like very highly criticized and scrutinized, and people were trying to track down this girl and then like her friends and family to like corroborate the story. And so it's like one of the things was that they claimed that she was away from school for like 3 months, and they contacted her schools and they couldn't find records of her ever being absent for extended periods of time, among other things that just didn't add up. It was like he faked it. So that that ties back to even just like the origin of the devil, Satan, being Lucifer in the Bible, which is as we've talked about before, as far as dead naming you, is inaccurate. So it's an ongoing process. It is a 2,000 plus almost year old game of telephone of finding a scapegoat, finding something to be angry at, something to hate and attack, and then use to hate and attack and discriminate against people who don't conform to their beliefs.
Absolutely. And it's really funny how people will be so fast to believe that because it automatically confirms their biases, and again, it makes them feel big and tough when they have someone they can justifiably attack and bully and, make into, again, this enemy. People love, I mean, not everybody, but tiny brain, low IQ people, they love warfare and they want to fight. They want to get up and they want to fight something until it's actually time to, put them hands up. then they back down. But once it's time to but they want to put them hands up. They want to tell you to put your hands up. But the second you do, they're like, nope. So
everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
They want to feel like the hero and the victim of their own story. I remember when I was in youth group, our youth pastor, in order to seem, I don't know, edgy or progressive or whatever, he invited this goth guy to come over and chat. He gave like a short sermon. He was a Christian, but he was goth. And he mentioned that The Crow is his favorite movie. The Crow is my favorite movie of all time. The very next week, he said, guys, that is a tool of the devil. That is a tool of the enemy. Do not watch that. There is this in it. There's that in it. That is a gateway where the enemy can influence your soul. Like, I know this man of God recommended it, but that is not. And I was just like, hold the fuck up. And so I was like, sorry, even in my indoctrinated brain, I was like, I'm sorry, I really like that movie. I can't pretend I don't like that movie,
Yeah, absolutely. I had very similar experiences. Mine was with Pokemon. My mom, she saw that stupid. Who's that guy? He always goes, why? Who is that guy? He's a very big televangelist, but she saw that that whole thing and
I can't remember.
Said, like, you can't watch Pokemon, you can't have Pokemon. So my first Pokemon game was like Pokemon Black and White, because that's how long it took for me to actually get my hands on a Pokemon game. But Digimon was fine. Digimon was perfectly fine.
Digimon was okay.
And I have absolutely no idea why. Now, well, actually, I do. Now, looking back on it, I know exactly why, and it's because Christians hadn't discovered it yet. If they had known what Digimon was, there's no way that my mom would have let me watch it. So the best way that I could actually digest a lot of this media that I wanted to was to make sure my mom never figured out that it existed, or that the church never figured out it existed. So as a high school kid, I would go to great lengths to rent movies and then hide them from my parents. So, most kids hide porn. I would just hide PG-13 movies just to get, just to watch what everyone else was already watching.
Yeah. Now, what's the saying go? Strict parents create sneaky kids, or something like that.
That sounds right.
Something along those lines. Or
yeah, they're not stopping their kids from doing these things. They're just teaching them to be more creative about it, or more sneaky about it.
Teaching us how to hide our drugs. Oh man. So what were, as I know you two guys, you were both raised Christian, right?
To an extent.
Not really. I became Christian when I was 15. I had moderate exposure to religion because my grandma or my grandparents, but my mom raised me. She believed in God, but we never went to church, and she wasn't really super Christian or anything. I was invited to church when I was 15, and that's when I started going more consistently.
Oh, okay.
Okay. See, and my folks never took us to church unless my grandparents were in town over there. We were at their house. And then my mom married a Mormon and converted because she's gullible. So after that, we were made to go for 3 or 4 years. And the entire time I got to experience Christian hypocrisy firsthand, because they would pretend to follow all of the tenets that Mormons are supposed to. But, so it's like when the elders came over, it was, hide the alcohol, hide the caffeine. They didn't want tea bags visible, because we would have Lipton out on the shelves, and it's that's got caffeine in it. So, yep, Mormons can't have any
Mormons caffeinated. Okay, yep, duh.
Yikes.
And I'm she's telling us these things. I'm like, Mom, you're literally holding a rum and Coke. Pretty sure this is bearing false witness right now. But yeah.
That's insane. Okay. So yeah,
definitely didn't have the same experience I ever had to say about it. Hiding stuff. Never had to sneak around behind my parents' backs, thankfully, as far as hiding movies and in games and whatnot.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I was raised very conservative Christian in the Church of Christ. And
Church of Christ.
Yeah, my mom and dad. My mom was a Catholic, but when she married my dad, she converted to, or I guess, moved from one Christianity to another. And she kept a lot of her Catholic tendencies, though. She would, she would still pray to the Virgin Mary and that kind of thing. My dad didn't really care, and the Church of Christ was really. Whenever I was growing up in it, I always thought, we're actually the chill church, because I'd never been to another church. I was like, we're probably the chill church. We seem like the chill church. Turns out, no. People looked at us like we were crazy because we didn't have instruments. We weren't allowed to have instruments in our songs. We all did.
Yeah, Church of Christ is a cappella only.
Yeah, and depending on how far back you go, it's probably one of the most strict, because back in the 80s, my granddad was a deacon, and my uncle, he got caught dancing at a dance for all of 10 seconds.
No.
It was in a picture. It was in a picture that was talking about the dance in the newspaper. He danced for one song, and it ended up being on the newspaper. And my grandpa lost his deaconship because his son was caught dancing. That's how bad it was. Wow. That's how bad it was.
Did you grow up in the town from Footloose?
Oh man, I wish. I still go back there for Halloween, and my dad, he's one of those people that's he will continue going to that church because that's where he's always gone. That's where he always grew up. But he's it's like your mom was, a weekend Christian. Where once Sunday comes around, it's no, we're quitting alcohol, we're quitting all this stuff, we're not dancing anymore. And then Monday rolls around, and it's just it's the second Sabbath.
I went to I don't mention this a lot, but my first year of college, I actually went to 3 different colleges. My first one was a college associated with the Church of Christ, even though I was charismatic Pentecostal. And I went there because like I had a grandfather who, or a step grandfather, I don't know what you call him, but he's somebody who recommended the school to me and I trusted him. He was a chaplain in the Air Force. So I went there for a year, and like just about everybody there was from Church of Christ. And when they found out I was charismatic Pentecostal, they started acting really like standoffish towards me. And one day I asked why, and they were like, "Do you believe that we're going to hell for not speaking in tongues?" And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, that's what they teach us, that you can't go to heaven if you're not filled with the Holy Spirit, which means if you don't speak in tongues, you're not filled with the Holy Spirit and you're going to hell." And
I was like, Christian freestyle.
Yeah, I was like, exactly. I was like, no, fuck no, I don't believe that. Like, really? I didn't even know that was a thing at the time. I was like, yeah, that's why everyone's acting so like standoffish towards me. I was like, no, I don't believe anybody here is going to hell. So yeah, and then that's when I learned about the whole a cappella thing, because like King David mentions worshiping using the harp and lyre, the lute and whatever, but there's no mention of any instruments in the New Testament. So they're like, in order to try and stay as accurate as possible to the Bible, they're like, there's no mention of instruments in the New Testament, so we're just going to be a cappella just to be safe.
Sure.
Yeah, it's absolutely bananas. Like looking back on it now.
Oh man, it's really difficult too, because a lot of what the Church of Christ tends to push, especially on my dad, are very conservative values and anti-intellectualism to a fault. So like I had to practically beg my parents to stay indoors during the height of the pandemic, because the church was absolutely insistent on on meeting up, because they were so sure that the blood of Christ was going to protect them. And my dad, he's just the most impressionable person. So of course he was going to go, and it wasn't until my mom died of COVID last year that he started to actually listen to me. And yeah, that's what it took, because anything short of that would have never have convinced him that science is actually a good thing. Like I actually, over this past year, I've actually convinced him. It just now got to the point where I can convince him that evolution is a thing, that it is real. He still doesn't know to this day that I'm an atheist, and if he ever figures it out, he figures it out. But I'm trying my best to kind of at least instill some idea of intellectualism into his mind, because he's, that's why I'm always a proponent of saying that, I think that theism I hate to say it this way because I know that there are good theists, but it's just, there's a lot of organized religion that promotes anti-intellectualism. And I think that is one of the greatest threats to humanity, because it's one of the things that causes climate change. It causes, disease, and it causes the rampant spread of misinformation. And so I know the Church of Christ is one of the worst proponents of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm while we're talking, and I had this pulled up earlier, I didn't have as much time to go over it as I wanted to today, because I didn't get out of drill until like 5 o'clock. But going through like the history of Satanic Panic in particular, it's all these stories, all of them. It's like, this is what happened, and it's some author, some evangelist making some bold claim about a satanic upbringing, or somebody that they met that dealt with like the Church of Satan. So there was another one that was Mike Warnke wrote Satan Cellar in 1972 and claimed that he was raised that way and his parents were Christians. And then like even the Michelle Remembers that we were talking about before, Anton LaVey from LaVeyan Satanism, from the Church of Satan, threatened to sue that guy for libel. And then after that statement, he Padzer retracted his claim that Michelle had been abused by the Church of Satan in particular. It's like, it wasn't the Church of Satan, it was just Satanists.
So I have to drink this shit out of a straw.
So, but they know what they're doing. I'm not entirely sure why they're trying to drum up attention for it, other than to like bring people to the church, I guess, in the worst way possible. But they know what they're doing.
Yeah. They know how to do fear campaigns better than anyone. There was this one clip that I found earlier today where they were trying to interview a Satanist. And okay, get this guy's name that they pulled up for this interview. His name was Dark Lord Blood. That's 100% a totally real Satanist name. And this was around the 80s. And he is, they pulled out this guy who they imagined would be like your typical Satanist. And you could tell it's probably fake, or either that or they dug up probably the most incel person I've ever seen from the deepest basement ever dug up by man, and then put him on the air and said, "So what are your other Satanist friends like?" And, he growls at them. He growls at them on camera. And then the dude claps his hands at him, trying to expel the demons from his body. It's a hell of a clip. I don't know if we can do screen share on here or anything like that, but it is, I've never been on this stream platform before, but it is just
tell me what it is. I'll put it up.
You want me to send you a link, or do you want to?
You could do it in the private chat on StreamYard, and I'll put it up, and we can watch it.
Right. All right, it is the best.
Before I started doing the TikTok thing, I was pretty active in a couple different incel watchdog groups on Reddit and Facebook, and so that happens a lot, where they reject Christianity not on the basis that it's false, or that they've done the research and know the truth behind it, but simply because it is mainstream, and especially with like progressive Christianity, they don't see it as being intense enough. So a lot of them are converting to Islam, and a lot of them are converting to what they think Satanism is, although they're mistaken. So it's just fucking funny. All right, this is only 2 minutes, so we can put this up. Hold on.
Oh, it is the absolute best.
No, it's gonna make me Dark Lord Blood. Oh no.
I'm intrigued.
No. Okay. All right. Well, let's put this up. I don't think I'm ready for this. Am I ready for this?
Just remember, guys, that whenever they show things like this to millions of people, this is the image they get when they think this is what your kids are going to turn into.
He's a seventh generation Satanist. Satanic worship goes back to his great-great-great-great-grandfather, who grew up with this. Dark Lord was, you've seen these rituals. What is it?
Well, it's a ritual. They may want to give something in a sacrificial sense to a demon, such as to mimic the biblical sacrifice of Abraham.
Satanists look different? Are all your friends Satanists?
No, I don't have any friends, but my acquaintances are, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I have to do something, for instance, with, it's not really just a kid to see. If you could see it. But what it essentially
you would think this is a parody, but it's not.
What about playing lyrics?
Yeah, it looks like satire, like an SNL skit.
Well, there are messages hidden in the lyrics and things like that.
Well, here's the thing: is that a lot of these people are paid actors. They fucking do it to get a paycheck from fucking Maury or whoever. They're not real.
Yeah, but people think it's real.
These were direct references.
This reminds me of something I'll bring up after the clip.
God's manure, vomit, stale wine, urine, and blood are used in the desecration of the Catholic Mass. And this kind of knife is being sold for that reason. There's something called an It's also being sold for healthy reasons. Man, what's healthy about selling a knife that this?
What the fuck?
He just grabbed.
So, people who
he snapped him out. See?
I think people want to be concerned about people that growl. I just want you to know your growling doesn't frighten me at all. Oh, that's good. I'm glad I wasn't sensitive.
Thank you for being here. I know a little for
Oh my god, it gets me every time I see that.
Look at him smiling.
Oh yeah, they're having a good time.
Why don't you shake the hand of the dude you just growled at? Okay.
Good show, man.
Because he has the Holy Spirit, he's not afraid of him.
My arm is not long enough to properly convey the jerk-off motion that is in my soul right now. Like,
adequate.
That was the fakest, dumbest shit I've ever seen. I fucking hate people.
I know, but they will show that. They'll show it 50 million times, and then my mom, will see that and think, "Oh man, this could be my kid if I let him play Pokemon. This could be my kid if he keep playing D&D, or if I buy him another month of World of Warcraft." It's just like they will look at that and they will 100% believe it, and that's really what creates
generation Satanist, though. Satan.
Yeah, seventh generation.
His great grandfather knew you personally.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. He was there. He was the guy who stabbed Jesus. He's the one who nailed him to the cross.
Oh my god!
Or no, he was the one trying to pull the nails out. He was the one trying to save Jesus because he didn't want Jesus to die for your sins or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was trying to save the iron because nails were expensive, so that's why they tried to pull the nails out.
Right.
That's why you just burn the wood in the body and then recover the nail from the ashes.
That's one way to do it, but they usually let them hang up there to decompose. But anyway, that's beside the point. What I was trying to say is, I used to listen to a podcast called the Bad Christian Podcast, and they were members of a band. I forget the name of the band now. It's been so long. It's a really popular podcast. They still do it today, but they like cuss and they talk about sex, and that's why they call themselves the Bad Christian Podcast. Well, they had a guest on who is a Satanist, and he described like rituals where women would willingly abort their fetuses in order to perform a satanic ritual, and he described like receiving money for like the rituals were done to make them rich, and then they became rich as a result of performing rituals like this. And then like even as a Christian, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like really, that's a thing. Like that's not a thing Satanists do, from what I understand. I heard the allegations, but I never saw any evidence for it. Oh shit! Evidence? Is there evidence?
Lunch.
Yep. Stupid straw.
Well, fuck.
Yeah, it's like these were a group of guys who did this podcast because they seem progressive. Like they cuss, they talk about sex. They wouldn't hire a paid actor to say all these things. No. So it's like maybe there's something to what he was saying, or maybe somebody else hired him and sent him on the show. So I had no idea. But now after watching that clip, like that reminded me of that. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely fucking what happened. Like he was fucking paid either by them or somebody else to go on that show and say that shit. Which is insane. And it like in order to give an entire community such a bad name for no reason that they didn't deserve at all.
Yeah. And well, it's like I said, when it comes down to ratings, for even, and this is true for movies, it's for stuff that's supposed to be fake. Making a big deal out of Satanism increases ratings. I mean, just look at my channel. Like the second I put on this mask, people take one look at this. Because like honestly, I'm not an atheist TikToker. I'm really not. Like I might talk about some religious things sometimes, but I still get ridiculously bombarded on my lives. In fact, I'm pretty sure any minute now, like if I had this camera straight on me, it would blow up to 1,000 viewers, and 90% of them are super pressed people. Just my image. I'm not even talking about religion. I'm just talking about, whatever. So whenever you see this face, it brings out this, this idea, this horror movie kind of sensationalism that makes it so that whenever you make Satanists out to be this big red monster, this big red, evil thing, they know it's going to make their ratings go up. They know they're going to get listeners. But if they would have brought on a real Satanist, at least the kind that I've met since I've been doing this, they will, they would just sit there and they would talk about like, oh yeah, we're not actually, we don't actually believe in Satan. We're actually just, we're a moral belief system. We're spicy atheists. That's the perfect way to put it. And then that's not exciting. That wouldn't bring your ratings up. So they might say, okay, let's try a different Satanist until they find the one that they know is going to be the most sensational. The one who's going to get up there and say this.
Another victim of satanic panic, and then especially after the Columbine massacre, everybody wanted to show hatred towards Marilyn Manson, which, to be fair, he deserves it, but we didn't know that then. And everybody assumed that he was going to be this dumb punk. And he's actually, especially in those older interviews, very well spoken and very intelligent. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that threw off not only the interviewer, but then like the people in the crowd, because it's a Jerry Springer type thing where parents in the crowd can stand up and say, "How dare you do this? Because my son's going to listen to it." And it's like, there's parental advisories on the CDs, lady. Don't let your son listen to it. Yeah. My music is not for people under the age of 18, among other things. So, you're absolutely right. It all comes down to ratings. And that's, especially irritating to me because this face that's not Satan.
No, it's a cartoon.
You can call it a demon, and demons are more closely related to like Jewish folklore and then Islam than Christianity. But I don't know. It's, the concept of Satan and the devil, it just irritates me that Christians don't actually know what it is.
Yeah. I've gotten sick of explaining it to people too. Like they'll say, "Why do you dress up as Satan?" And I was like, "Well, you're making some jumps here." I'll tell people, it's like, "Well, this mask that I bought isn't even called a Satan mask. Like if you look on the product, it's called Belial, but I mean, I look at this and I think this kind of looks more like a dragon man or something, but they look at it and they're like, oh, that's 100% Satan. That's that's the cartoon Satan that they watched growing up on the Powerpuff Girls and on Cow and Chicken. I don't know if y'all watched that. And they're thinking, that's 100% what Satan looks like. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love the number. You can tell the impact of the misinformation just by the number of Satanist TikTokers who are constantly having to say, no, we don't worship Satan. We don't believe he's real. We're atheists.
Yeah.
Like every Satanist is atheist, but no one knows that. So they're having to do this damage control.
I felt left out.
It's because they all watched that clip. Oh yeah, Copernicus, right? I think I saw that video.
Cyrano's for her and the hunter, which he's supposed to have antlers, but horns are horns. The mask I have for Rachel is actually in the other room, and it may or may not have horns too. Ooh. But no, Vittershen said in the comments that they'll send for anybody in a mask. So I was like, okay, well, let me put my mask back on.
I'll tell you, there's kind of there's a rivalry in my community as to because like some people will simp for me and then they'll simp for the mask, but I honestly think that the majority are simping for the mask, and I can't explain it.
Sure,
I can't explain it.
You got to do the big nasty 666 thing and start doing videos of you and yourself.
Oh man, that brings out a whole other can of worms where people are insisting, no matter how many face reveals that I do, they insist that because I have done those. I have done skits with me and Satan as
I think
two
I
separate
saw
characters.
One, and people in the comments were like, I could have sworn you were a 40, 50-year-old man. That just made me laugh.
Yeah, it's because they think that this is my real face and it's not a mask, that this is makeup that I put on, even though they can see my arms and they can see.
Wait, that's not your real face?
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, see, there's the mask that I put on is the young guy. This is my real face. But no, they'll see this and they'll associate, the old man glasses, and they'll think that these smile lines are my actual smile lines, and
that's because it looks so real. I almost fell for a like one of those Amazon scams where they show that mask, and then the one that they sell is like $30.
It's a latex knockoff.
And it's not even like latex. It'll be like cheapo plastic.
Mhm.
I made the mistake of buying the one that was like the demon with the big eyes and the teeth, and it was broken before I even opened it. And I was like, this is not what they showed in the video. Okay.
Yeah. Anything less than about $600 is definitely not made of silicone. Like,
yeah, because I had already fallen for it once when I saw that mask. I was like, okay, I'm gonna research this and see where the actual one is. Can I put I can't put mine on like you have yours. Oh no! Wait, can I use these other horn ears? Hold on. Where are the other ears at?
Some people ask me, why are you wearing glasses, Sid? I thought you were supposed to be this extra planar godlike being. I'm like, well, godlike beings can be nearsighted too. I can't see the comments without them. Like if I took these off.
Yeah, I can't read. I've tried to put mine on the way you have yours to read the comments because they exploded and I can't see any of them. Is that just a kitsune mask? Because you're a blur. Everybody on I'm telling you, I can see my hand.
It's a Fortnite mask. I don't even know what character because I don't play Fortnite, but I saw it in Spirit of Halloween. I really liked it, and I was like, I could paint it to look badass because it's like white and purple and pink. So I made it black and white and silver, and I put blood splatters and I put a bullet hole and scratches on the eyes, and I cut an ear off this ear. So I made it look like this.
Ooh, I can dig it.
Yeah,
nice.
It's my mask.
I got another one coming in the mail here pretty soon.
Everyone, we all wear masks.
You never know when a purge is going to happen.
Oh man, I would thrive in a purge.
Be prepared.
The purge. Oh man.
Sorry, I feel like we got a little off. Is that going to be the nerdy topic? Is masks? Because I mean, I'm down for that.
Oh, it could easily be. It's a little early.
This would be a good. I think what we could do. There was one comic I was going to show you guys. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but have you heard of Chick Tracks? They're like this. Those little comics, those little 10 or 12 page comics, and they're just tiny little things because they're they're about that big, and Christians would print them off by the hundreds and put them in windshields. They would just drop them on the floor so people would find them, would happen upon them. They were very propagandized. We had these in my church, and I had repressed this one, but I came across it recently as I was doing research for the Satanic Panic, and it was about D&D, where this girl, she joins a D&D group, right? And of course, there's a wizard character. This girl, this little preteen girl who's playing this wizard character, and of course, the dungeon master's she's this super hot 25-year-old woman who's their dungeon master. Of course, she's wearing makeup, which is no, you don't wear makeup. And so she's like, so all I have to do is roll these dice and I can cast this spell and make people do what I want. And she's like, yes, this is what you can do. And so this girl, she gets good at the game. She gets good at playing Dungeons and Dragons. And she says, you know what? You're really good at the dungeon master, the dungeon mistress, I should say. Says, you're actually really good at this game. How about we take it to the next level? So she takes this girl out into the woods to, as you do after a good D&D game. You go out into the woods and you do an occult ritual. We
do that every Wednesday.
Yeah, we do that all the time, And she has her name changed to Elf Star. And so she makes her parents call her Elf Star now. And her parents go to her pastor and say, we're kind of concerned, she's changed her name. We're wondering if she's able to, see the difference between fantasy and reality. And next thing you know, she casts a spell on her dad that was a mind bondage spell because he was trying to stop her from playing D&D, and it worked. She rolled the dice, and he bought her $200 worth of D&D figures and materials and manuals. As what happens. That's how we all get started. That's how we all get our stuff started.
Yeah, it's pretty common knowledge.
Yeah. And then later that week, she's playing D&D again, but one of the players is missing. And she's like, well, what happened to, I don't remember their names. What happened to Susie? What happened to Susie? What happened? She's like, oh, her character died. And she's like, huh, that's weird. I figured she'd still be back though. She's like, I don't know. I haven't heard from her. So they come back to later find out that Susie had killed herself because her character died because she couldn't separate, fantasy from reality or whatever bullshit. And it's just absolutely crazy because then she goes to her dungeon master and says, I don't know if I want to play anymore. I feel like this is getting too intense. And then dungeon master tries to force her, to continue. It's like, you can't, you are Elf Star now. You are not whatever the hell your name was before. You are Elf Star now. And then their pastor comes to the rescue and forces the spirits from her body. And she burns all of her D&D manuals in this big bonfire. And of course, at the end, there's always like a verse or something that turns people to God.
Oh, yeah. Always the verse.
Yeah, absolutely. So just remember, kids, if you're out there playing D&D, and your friend just so happens to think that they're having some bad ideas because their character died, it's not because the devil, it's because they needed help beforehand. Because there were lots of stories about these kids who did murder somebody and did kill them. It was a murder-suicide, and they just happened to play D&D. And of course, the parents did not. They thought their child was a little angel. It couldn't have been them.
Correlation versus causation.
Yeah, it couldn't have been. The fact that they had pre-existing mental issues that were going unaddressed. It was because of D&D. When that is the Satanic Panic all wrapped up in one. But on a segue to that, you guys play D&D and you didn't tell me?
Yeah, we play on Wednesdays. Crimson is our DM. Dustin, who was he's still in the comments. He plays as well. He's also a DM on another campaign. But yeah, we play Wednesdays. Yeah, we used to stream it. We stopped doing that because it was just turned out to be too much hassle. Do you play?
Oh yes. I played. Well, I don't play as much Dungeons and Dragons anymore. I actually wrote my own. I wrote my own system based on my books. It got to a point where we were playing D&D third edition, and we kept using so many variant rules. We ended up changing so many things that it became a game of its own. And so I thought, fuck it, I'll just restructure the whole thing from the ground up, and I made my own system.
Oh, those are gorgeous.
Oof!
Did you just get those?
No, yeah. They're the ones that keep helping y'all. They're the ones that killed Lang Dragoza in the most embarrassing way possible.
You've shown me yours. Now I got to show you
Vicious
mine.
Mockery?
No, Lang Dragoza tripping over his own feet twice and falling flat on his face to be stabbed in the back.
That's right.
My first big bad evil guy for the campaign basically killed himself twice. It was great.
As they do. Hang on, I got something to show you guys too.
Even Satan needs potty breaks.
I think he's getting his dice. Max has a pair of gemstone dice.
Oh shit!
Oh, that's cool.
Did you make that?
Yes.
It looks handmade.
I made this for a convention a few years back, where they were trying to play. It was like a LARP group, an Amtgard group, and they were trying to, just for lulz, play D&D live, like with a grid. It was a huge, like 50-foot by 50-foot grid out,
like live action chess that you'd see at a Renaissance fair.
Yeah, so we needed one of these. I was gonna make a full set, but this one took so long and it took so much tape. This is all we got. So we just did this. We just did this, and you got to roll to hit. And if you hit, then you actually get to hit them. So we just went with that instead of actually trying to do damage or whatever. It was all just for fun. It wasn't like a full campaign or anything like that. But
it sounds like fun though.
A good time.
Did we talk about this last time? Renaissance fairs, are they LARPing or not?
Absolutely.
I feel like we talked about it, but I don't remember.
It's LARPing without the combat.
It could be LARPing with the combat.
Yeah, but too. LARPing doesn't have to have combat. It's live action role play. You munchkin, always wanting to fight. Give me a lot of fights coming up.
I do want to fight a lot. Fighting is my favorite thing.
No, there's somebody in the comments who wasn't very happy about that. But yeah, no, just that's the consensus, is that from like everybody that we've asked, is that LARPing is indeed, or that Renaissance fairs are indeed LARPing rather.
I think we're getting too hung up on labels here.
No,
then where does Dagger here fall? Is Dagger here LARPing? Like, it can be, but it doesn't have to be, right?
You said that before, and I'm not sure. That sounds like something where people beat the shit out of each other with foam swords.
Yes, but you don't have to be. You don't have to have a character or a backstory or anything. You can. It's optional. But from what I understand, most people don't. You just show up and you have like your own faction. I've never done it. I just know about it.
There's a similar thing out here called Belagarth. It's the same. It's
That's like a subsect of.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they got that in Texas too.
But yeah, no, I think anytime you're dressing up in period era costumes or costumes from a fandom of some sort and having like interactions with big groups of people, I think that's LARPing. I say the same thing about Civil War reenactments. That's LARPing.
Yeah, yes, I would agree with that. If you're assuming character, that's the difference between cosplay and LARPing. Like if you're dressing up as a character, it's just cosplay. If you are actually personifying that character and interacting with other people of a similar genre, era, and what have you, that's where it crosses the line into LARPing. I would say, in my prematurely developed opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. Kind of like if I'm over here in a Satan mask and I'm just talking as myself, I'm just cosplaying. But if I start saying I am Satan, I'm LARPing.
Yeah, exactly. It's as simple as that, I think.
Apparently, our comments are freaking out because somebody thinks that you might be ripped, Satan. They want to know if you lift.
Do you even lift,
personal trainer? I'm a personal trainer. That is another one of my.
You are a personal trainer.
Sources. Yes.
Well, then the answer to that question is yes, I would think. Right?
I used to be a personal trainer.
Literally, it was Rachel put #petition for shirtless Satan. What the fuck?
Look, I'll bring down some buttons because this shirt goes like this mask goes down like halfway down my torso. But that's all y'all getting without a super chat.
Yeah, we wouldn't get a ban. We are live on TikTok as well, so we don't want to.
Yeah, I thought I was banned for taking my shirt off, and then I realized that we were talking with Lilith was right about very explicit things, and that's probably why my live got banned for 24 hours.
I've never been banned on live yet.
I got a 3-day ban a couple days ago. I was doing a duel live, and someone was asking for like a tour of my garage, and I was doing that, and then I got banned. And I appealed it, and I emailed TikTok, and I was like, I was just giving a tour of my garage. What fucking community guideline violations? Words are hard. But it got restored in less than 20 hours. So yeah, there's people out there mass reporting people for no fucking reason.
You've got the Dizians in your comments, Jesus loves you. And after they say Jesus loves you, before they scroll away, they go to report, and they report you for harassment and bullying because you're saying mean things about their religion. Like, that's not what harassment is, but okay. Because what you're doing right now by false reporting, that's harassment. That's bullying.
And from what I've heard, if you are in the creator fund and you are being paid by TikTok, and they do that, they're interfering with your livelihood, and you could attain that information, and TikTok can't deny you that. From what I hear, I haven't looked into this personally, but that makes sense. And I may end up doing that if that shit keeps happening, because I am in the creator fund, and I do make money from TikTok. So
Have you seen a notable decrease in your views from that at all?
No, not really.
When I came back from being banned, I did. I went from thousands of views for each video to now I'm lucky to get 1,000 on most things that I post.
I haven't found much of a difference, but when I have found that my channel's growth as far as subscribers has slowed down a lot, but that's going to happen eventually. Like at some point, you're going to cap out, the number of people who are interested in your content. So I don't attribute that to that. But it's weird. Most of my views will get a few thousand, and every now and then I'll get one that's 10,000. Every now and then I get one that's 50,000. Every now and then I get one that's 100, 200, whatever. It's hard to pin down exactly what the algorithm is looking for.
Well, you post a lot. Sometimes I'll like I'll look at my For You page and I'll get 3 posts from you on the same day, like dated on the same day. Like
that's weird. I only post like 3 or 4, maybe 5 videos a day. Sometimes I do more than that, but
it's just 3 or 5 videos a day. Damn, I'll be lucky to get
That's not much. It's really not.
Well, I got to mask up for every video I make, so I guess it feels like a lot more to me.
That makes sense.
I guess, I got to film all my TikToks at once because I can't. Putting this thing on is not like the worst hassle in the world, but it's like enough of a hassle to like. I don't know if I could do this every day.
And that's one thing I wonder about, like primary cosplayer, like Blue Eye Darkness. Like they have to put on that makeup and then shoot like every video one right after the other, and then wash it all off, and then like post it periodically throughout the day. Like that sounds like a pain in the dick, but they do it because they enjoy it.
Yeah.
So my hat's off to them. I'm too lazy
there
for
are
that.
some people that have some insane cosplays. Like Blue Eye Darkness, she makes good content because she's just got like this beautiful personality. But there are some cosplayers who take it to like the next level. These like special effects. Like, do you guys know? You have you ever seen the movie Legend with like Tom Cruise and Tim Curry as like the big horned devil bad guy?
Played by Tim Curry. I haven't seen it, but I need to because Tim Curry is a god among men.
And this is probably one of his best performances of all time. He makes the entire movie. But anyways, like there is a cosplayer that I started following recently who makes a damn near perfect recreation of Tim Curry's Lord of Darkness. And I don't know their pronouns, so I'm just going to say they. They will, I can already tell you just from personal experience, that would take nearly 2 hours to put on. 2 hours to put on, and then probably about an hour to take off fully because their entire face is covered in makeup. Their arms are covered in makeup because it's a full body cosplay with a headpiece. Like if I were to have to go through that kind of stuff, there's no way I would be able to churn out one video a day. There's just no way. It'd be impossible.
I get the big sad, and I can't even like bring myself to do the costume changes that I do for the different gods that I portray in different videos that I do. Yeah. And it's like I've got like 3 or 4 videos just bouncing around up in my head, and I just can't get the brain space together to I just don't have the spoons for it. I can't do it, and they'll be fucking hilarious when I finally let that shit just kind of sprinkle away and can put on and for me it's like scarves and hats, and I can't fucking do that. So I can't imagine having to put that mask on and staying in it for that long every time I want to do a video, or then like you're talking with people who actually do the makeup and prosthetics and whatnot, because I was a theater kid. I know how hard that is. So
I was a theater kid too once upon a time.
Samesies.
I was just watching
4 options.
Oh, I kind of want to find them because I'd like to Theater Kids Unite. I just watched, there was an 85-part series on TikTok. I watched all 85 videos in the span of like an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long it was, because it was that good. And it was this girl who did a series that was like theater kids in high school or something. And it was one of them who didn't get the role of Belle in Beauty and the Beast, and then was just a nightmare about it until she got kicked off the cast. And it was really funny.
So it was like a series, like a YouTube video, but broken up into 85 parts, 85, 60-second parts.
Yeah, she's been doing them for like 3 months, since like February, and she's still doing them.
Wow. That's wow.
That's crazy.
I can barely keep like a cohesive narrative for a 60-second video, much less 85.
It's Emily Evans, but Emily is spelled E-H. Whoop. Oh, I don't know if that's, you can't read that. I'll drop her @ in the thing. It's absolutely hilarious. And so like, because you'll get these kids, I don't know if y'all remember or dealt with this, because I had to, this dude named Brad, every 5 minutes. Well, I'm classically trained. I have a vocal coach. It's like, okay, you still sound like shit. So are you actually getting lessons, or are you just showing up, singing, and telling them that you don't need to practice because you're perfect. Like, what's happening? And so she like perfectly emulates that character, and it's really goddamn funny.
Beautiful. Absolutely.
I'm dropping her in the chat for that. But yeah, no, I went back and found the first one and watched all of them.
Fantastic.
That reminds me of something. When I was in Greece in high school, and I was Kaniki. That's right. You remember?
You were in Greece in high school?
You forgot.
Yeah,
I was in Greece in high school.
Hold on, I'm gonna. The fucking.
Well, now I feel left out.
My feed is. Who were you? Would you play?
I was Danny.
You were Danny? Okay, so here's my story. I auditioned for Danny, but I didn't get it. I got Kaniki. Danny was given to this guy who was the son of a woman who was on the student board, and she donated a bunch of money to the school. He could also sing. He couldn't sing as well as I could. He could dance better than I could, but he couldn't act worth shit. But he was given it over me, and I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. I see how this is.
I think we talked about that before, because I have a similar story about Lend Me a Tenor, where the male lead role couldn't sing, and they put the music on over the speakers, and he was the only one in the cast who didn't sing his lines.
Really?
And his mom happened to be the stage manager.
Oh,
yep.
Really?
That's a thing.
I was the only one in my town that could.
It's about who you know. Oh, I'm salty. I'll admit this. I should have got that part. I don't know if I'm a tenor or not, or was at the time.
Yeah, I'm salty. I'm salty as fuck about that.
I feel bad though that I wasn't in Greece now. Like, I feel like I would have been Rizzo or Frenchie.
Rizzo or Frenchie, yeah.
Yeah, that's who I could be in Greece. I couldn't be any of the T-Birds. I would have had to have been a pink lady.
Well, see, the funny thing is the guy that got picked for Danny was gay, like the most flamboyantly gay guy in our high school.
How do you compete with that?
Yeah, but that's why he could sing and dance. He could dance really well and sing moderately well. But he couldn't. Yeah, he couldn't act at all.
To be fair, I think
Danny was like the
dancing parts.
Yeah,
because there's like the whole scene at prom. That's crazy.
Yeah, which I didn't have a problem with him personally. Like, he wasn't a bad guy, but I can't help but connect to the fucking dots.
We had to get a whole, somebody donated a car so that we could use it in the play. So we had
What
to.
fucking high school did you go to? Because
well, I can't tell you because it would tell people where I came from, but I don't want to give people my hometown. But it's a tiny high school. We did not have. I didn't go to like a big 4A school. I went to like a 2A school, like tiny. I don't know if that means anything outside of Texas, but it's my graduating class was only about 87 people. Started with 115 and ended with 87 because so many people dropped out. But for some crazy reason, whenever we started telling everybody through the theater department that we were doing Grease, the entire town pitched in. They all threw money at us because they wanted to see the play.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, the grocery store had a billboard. It was like one of the only animated billboards in town. They threw it up there. My dad was the mayor, so when he's heard that I was going to be playing Danny, he started telling everybody in the city council, who started, throwing it all around. So people started just giving us whatever they could, to the point where we could afford like a professional sound guy to actually mic us up. So we didn't have to project. And we had to, because this was the first time since the auditorium was built, like in the 60s, that it was ever full. Like, we sold the entire place out for all 4 nights, which is just unheard of. Graduations did not even have this level of volume. So we had to go all out. They gave us half a car. It was like an old clunker. And they took the engine out. They cut it in half so that there was only the front seat. And we had to just muscle it up onto the stage. Half of a car. And we would when it was time for the car to come out, we would just push it out from behind the back curtain. And, we would sit on it. We would dance on it. There was a kid who did like a cartwheel off of it during like the Grease Lightning
We definitely
song.
went to the same high school. What's your...
You're kidding me. No, there's no way. Wait, how old are you?
No, this is actually like someone donated. I think it was like I can't remember. Someone donated like half of an old car. And then this other team called like New Horizons. That was like an after school club. And the school dolled it up, made it look really good and nice. And then we put it behind these two doors, and then people pushed it out. And then we danced and shit on it. It's like everything you're saying, and I'm like, who the fuck are you? I know you.
I'm reasonably positive you're about 10 years older than him.
Yeah, I know. I'm keeping that in background, but still.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you're quite a bit younger than I am. But I was like, wow, there's nothing new under the sun, is there?
No, they just saw your place somehow. And do you live in Texas by any chance, or do you live in another state?
I was born in Texas, but no, this happened in Virginia.
Virginia, okay, yeah. Somehow my fucking theater teacher saw your play and said, "I'm going to do that shit." 10 years later.
My theater teacher dated Robin Williams, so that's possible. She was in Blade Runner.
Wow,
that's pretty cool.
So,
my theater teacher never acted professionally or even as an amateur. None of it. Never. Teaching acting, never acted. Great.
Ooh.
We could not have fit even half of a car on our stage, and if we tried, the stage would have collapsed. The building that we had been built in like the 1930s, and they hadn't updated it. It only sat like 180 people, and we had 2,000 to 3,000 kids in the school. Everything was falling apart, all of it. And while I was in school, they built a new automotive like shop tech building, and they spent like almost $2 million putting AstroTurf and like stadium seating and fixing up not only the football field, but then the spare football field for practice for so like varsity versus junior varsity or whatever. And our auditorium like was falling apart to the point where we were like making our own costumes and like tearing apart old ones for the fabric to make new ones. Yeah, that was so. Yeah, no, we didn't have anything quite that extravagant for our performances.
There's a question in the comments for me I want to answer. Cherished Hope Photography, who makes great photos. I follow her on TikTok. Says, I do have a question for Captain Dadpool. Speaking in tongues, how do you explain you doing it? Do you fake it? Growing up Pentecostal, I never did and was always guilted. I just couldn't. Yeah, so basically what happens with speaking in tongues is first you're taught that it's a thing. And in my experience, in my denomination, speaking in tongues was the initial infilling of the Holy Spirit. That was the initial evidence. So you couldn't be filled with the Holy Spirit, which was like the next level Christian kind of, if you weren't speaking in tongues. So you were like groomed in a way to believe that was a thing, and then you're kind of taught how to do it. And then the pastor would have like a special service, a spirit-filled service, sometimes it was called. Like certain songs were played, certain whatever. And then he would invite everyone who would like to receive the infilling of the Holy Spirit. And you'd come to the altar, and deacons, altar responders, whatever they called them, I can't remember now, would come, and they would literally form a circle around you, and they would pray for you in tongues, and then they would tell you the Holy Spirit wants you to have this gift, blah, 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 blah. So it's this mass conglomeration of peer pressure and grooming and mental illness sometimes. And you do it in the interest of fitting in because everyone around you is expecting this of you. So you feel like you're the odd man out. I'm the one who doesn't believe it. Everyone around me, all these authority figures on the subject, believe that I should be doing this, but I'm not. So you start speaking in tongues, and you feel weird as fuck anyway. I did the whole tongues thing for a pretty brief period of time for that reason, and eventually I just stopped because I never felt comfortable with it. But that's basically the psychology of what happens with that.
What if you don't do it in a way that they think is correct? Like, what if your tongues, like, because I mean, obviously, it's like you said, you kind of have to just let it out, right?
Yeah.
What if the way that you do it doesn't sound like how everyone else did it? Like, say you came from a different church where they do a lot of clicks, and this group does a lot of tongue stuff. But and is there like a discrepancy? Like, if you do a different type of tongues than another church who believes in it, they think, you're tonguing wrong? Like,
no, not really. Like it's kind of like tongue. Your language of tongues is sort of like a fingerprint. Like everyone's is going to sound a little bit different. That's kind of the way it's explained. There's no like criteria or format for it. Everyone's is going to be a little bit different because it's your own unique language. Yeah, I feel stupid as shit saying that right now, but at the time, it's a thing. It's absolutely a thing when you're indoctrinated into that culture. It's it doesn't
something like Pig Latin.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's some churches that even teach. Now, my church never did this. But there are some churches that will teach you key phrases to kind of get you going. Some of y'all may have heard this. It's like, see my Titac, or I need the key to my Honda. They'll be like, just say that over and over and over again, and that will like turn into tongues for people who like didn't know how to get started. Like they came up with that formula.
They literally taught you how to fake it. That's great.
You don't see it that way at the time, but that's exactly what it is.
John Oliver did a special on televangelists, and one of the first clips put forward was I can't remember the name of that guy either. Why would you? Let's not spread their fucking filth. But he's like sitting there, and he did the Makita Mahanda bullshit. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Makita Mahanda, you can't make this stuff up. It's like, yes, you can.
Literally are.
It's called gibberish. Like babies do that.
Beautiful.
I hate people. I think that's the second time I've said that since we started, but I do. I fucking hate people.
Oh my god.
I'm lucky. I guess I'm very fortunate that I never had to go through that. All the shit I did have to go through, I never had to go through anything like that.
Yeah, you went through different shit though.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
It was more like stuff that I wasn't allowed to go through. It was more like
yours was more like legalistic, I think.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, it's not so much what we had to do; it was what we weren't allowed to do.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
So, you said you guys play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
and you said you play on. Is it like y'all's game? Like you two together?
Okay.
I DM
Crimson is a
and
DM.
Have a couple different people.
This is my first real campaign.
Creators, but just people that we met on TikTok that wanted to play. And then so I'm running it. I also built my own system a while back that I really want to play with people. And it's funny because I built mine, and then somebody put one out, and then they were sued because it's based on Fallout, which is now owned by Bethesda. So they were sued, so they had to change all of the names in the book to fit like a separate post-apocalyptic world. So they couldn't call shit like Nuka-Cola and Vaults and Vault-Tec. They had to change everything for it. So I wrote one, and then another one came out. So I need to like do a comparison to see which one's better. But I want to get a group of people to play that at some point. That would be a lot of fun. But no, I'm just taking them through an official campaign setting because I'm new to 5th edition. So it's Tyranny of Dragons.
Yeah, I'm new to D&D altogether. I had like a couple of like one night campaigns in college. I had like a Star Wars themed one, but it was like a one night 8-hour long campaign. So this was my first. Like I was invited by Crimson and Dustin, and I was like, "Yeah, all right, let's do this." So yeah, this has been my first campaign, and it's going well. I'm killing dragons that I'm not supposed to be able to kill yet, and I'm not killing, but
the half dragon, my half dragon champion, my first big bad evil guy, literally fell on his face twice in 2 different fights. And got stabbed in the chest until he died. He never got to attack anyone.
I'm good at everything.
He fumbled a roll to use his breath weapon. He was blue, so a lightning blast, like point blank range in Ricky's face, probably would have killed him, and he would have had to have been resurrected by the priests who were nearby. Fumbled that roll, and so I have a fumble table. So we roll a D100 to see what happens on the fumble table. And he got hit self and fall. So I wrote it out that his breath weapon caught in his throat and exploded in his face, and he fell backwards. And then Ricky jumped on top of him and stabbed him. And I was like, well, he can't die here. So I had the kobolds like push Ricky off and drag his body away quickly. And then later they faced him down in a cavern, and he talked a big game like, you got lucky, I'm going to kill you. Rah. Runs forward, takes a big swing at Ricky's character, fumbles again. And then I rolled double zeros, which on this fumble table is, sorry, that's the critical hit table, which on this fumble table is roll 3 times. So I had to roll 3 times, and I rolled hit friend, double damage, hit friend, normal damage, and then fall, roll dex, or drop primary weapon, which he did. So I had it that Raziel ducked underneath his swing. He lopped the head off of the guy next to him who only had like 9 hit points left, then did like a full pirouette, lodged his sword into the arm of one of his other minions, and fell on his face. And then they just stabbed him until he died. It only took like 1 round.
That is the saddest story I've ever heard.
That is the tale of Langdragosa the clumsy bitch. That's what that is.
Great story for me.
That kept happening to me all the time whenever I was dungeon mastering, and one of the things I kind of got disillusioned with was the fact that there was a 5% chance that shit like that could happen, and it could easily happen twice. So the system that I made, instead of using a D20, uses 2 D10s, so that the chances of rolling any specific number between 2 and 20 is a bell curve rather than a 5% chance even across the board. So you actually have a 1% chance to critically fail and a 1% chance to land a crit. It still happens. Like, even if there's a 1% chance that your villain can fuck up, it's almost certainly going to happen in the most epic moment that you were planning for years. It's not like that. It's that kind of stuff that actually might make me believe that there's a God again. Because when it happens, sometimes it'll happen twice, which, if you guys know anything about math, that's a 1 in 10,000 chance of happening, and it still will happen. So, yeah, it's just a curse of being a dungeon master. The more cool your villain is, the worse he's gonna fuck up. There's nothing you can do about it.
We have a tiefling bard with vicious mockery. So every time she casts it, my enemies have to roll a wisdom save or take damage. And I don't know how many times she's cast it, but I know that like 7 or 8 times that she has, I've fumbled the roll. I got a 1. And so she's killed now 10 or 11 people by insulting them. And the last time it happened, I was like, okay, so I rolled the fumble, and I was like, all right, well, he's at full health, so there's no way you're going to kill him. And then I rolled, when I roll that, it's a critical hit. I have 6 options on 100 that are death. And she rolled 91 was one of them. So
nope.
I'm like, I want to put a little thing here and just write 11 on it, and the next time she kills somebody that way, I'm just going to erase the 1 and write a 2, and we'll just have that for the rest of the campaign to see how long it lasts.
Does she actually insult? Like, does she say the insults out loud when she casts that spell?
She does. She's pretty good at that.
Wonderful.
She comes up with things to say for bardic inspirations for each of the characters that we have, and then she'll throw out an insult when she does it, and then like occasionally she'll just drop puns in her lap, and that's great. I have a rim shot sound effect on my soundboard specifically for her.
Beautiful. That sounds like a hell of a fun game.
Oh, man.
We have a librarian, which is a barbarian who's obsessed with books. I want him to take tavern brawling so that he can take books out of a satchel that I wrote in for him. That's essentially a bag of holding that only works for books. I want him to just pull books out of that and chuck them at people.
His character actually gave me the idea of making a Warhammer that's made out of books. Like just a bunch of books that are like
glued together?
Not like glued, but like strapped together with like leather twine and then a handle, like just bludgeoning people with it. Yeah. A Warhammer made of books.
You could call that the Board of Education.
Yes, you could.
Of Education.
Yes, you could.
Damn.
And it would be effective because it would weigh a fuck ton.
Sorry. But yeah, no, I mean, so I'm new to 5th edition, and Ricky is new to D&D in general for the most part. I don't know anything about your book series that you were talking about. You're a fantasy writer.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
You wrote a pen and paper based on it?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I wrote the game first, and I got to a point where I thought, whenever the pandemic hit, I thought, fuck it, I'll start writing books. So because I had ridiculous amounts of free time, being a personal trainer, during the pandemic was a nightmare. There was no gyms were open. Nobody wanted to work out, even whenever they could, because, we could train at the park, but, there was no time. So I just stayed home and wrote down the stories from old campaigns. Like we had a campaign running for years. We still have an ongoing campaign for like 6 or 7 years now. And I started writing down the stories, not as the characters did them, but as I intended them to be done. Because, whenever you write a campaign, you kind of have this idea of how this storyline is how it's supposed to go, and it never goes that way. But you kind of wish that it did. I essentially just wrote that. I used their characters, I put them in their starting positions, and then I wrote the story, trying to incorporate as much of their personalities as I could, and just said, this is what the story would have been like if, you guys were a bunch of robots and you did exactly what I said. And they love them. I got their permission to write their characters, and anyone who I couldn't get a hold of because I hadn't seen them in years, I didn't use their characters. I would just write my original ones. And the idea behind these books is like a way for people to, it's like the main theme is loneliness. How everyone has their own kind of loneliness, whether you're surrounded by people or not. Like some people have a loneliness that can only be filled by a familial bond. Like they can have a million friends, but if they don't feel like they have a family, then they still feel lonely. You can also have loneliness in the fact that a religious kind of loneliness. One of the characters, he feels that because even though he grew up in the church, he can't really establish a connection with his gods, which I ironically call the Holy Trinity in this book, 3 actual depictions of God. As you see him in the Bible, you have like the warrior who is like, the God from the Old Testament who liked war. Then you had like the Father, which is like, as some Christians like to think of him as a father. And then you have another God that's kind of more like a Jesus figure, one who's all forgiving, all loving, benevolent figure. And the fact that these 3 gods exist as separate beings almost makes it a little more justifiable whenever people are like invoking Zobrist because he's the god of war. They're still, without having to contradict the other god who is like a merciful god. And though he can't find a connection with these gods. So he's kind of backing himself down into like this sense of loneliness because he doesn't feel like he can form a connection with anyone like he could possibly connect with the gods. So he's dealing with that. And of course, there's another character who's feeling a form of loneliness based on the fact that he doesn't believe that he deserves to have anyone in his life. Like the last person he let get close to him was killed. So he believes that he should just be alone forever. So all the characters are dealing with their own kind of loneliness. They never come out and they never talk about it, but it's one of those things that's always present in the series. And the main character, Don Traveler, is a portal mage. He's someone who can open portals. He's mostly, just think of it as like teleportation magic. He can do other things, but his main focus is on the subsect of portal magic. And he's trying to find his family. He grew up in a society that values family above all else. There's clans, and if you don't have a clan, then you're basically a hopeless wanderer. And so he is trying to travel back to a world that he hasn't been to in a long time to try to find his long lost family. And he recruits a jaded shapeshifter who can change his face to help him get through the world, because this shapeshifter he's a thief, he's a rogue, he's been living in the underworld for a long time, and he has this this realist view of the world that kind of balances out this naive, childlike version of Don, who trusts everybody, who thinks everybody's mostly good. So they kind of that's what the stories follow these two guys as they try to find some form of togetherness, in a way that's meaningful in their own way. Because, like, Don wants a family. Shalnark, the shape changer, wants, he wants to try to find his way home, and he wants to try to find it's like he's trying to find a I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to describe my own book sometimes. Yeah, you get the idea.
I do, but I want to know the title.
The title, of course, I should get to the point. Festival of the Azure Moon.
I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just like, I want to order this before I forget, because I will.
I am.
I'm
you should
sorry.
get to the point.
Festival of the Azure Moon is book 1, and Where Magic is Born is book 2.
Conan the Librarian. Oh my god.
That is like right the hell up my wife's alley. I love it. Portal Mage Saga. Why is it free? Let me buy it.
It's free on KDP. So if you have a KDP membership, then it's going to be free on Amazon.
Bump that. I want the paperback. I don't know about you, but I'm a crazy person. Okay, so Where Magic is Born, and then Cosmic Tear?
That is the book that I have coming out in October.
Oh, so you're a tease. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Pre-orders.
But you wrote the game first, and then you wrote the series. So is the game available, or is that something you're keeping close to the chest?
That isn't ready yet. I haven't, like I said, I wrote the system, but I haven't play tested it with more than a single group of people. So they, I've got all their kings worked out, but that's only based on their builds of like 5 people. So I haven't really had a chance to test it on large groups of people, on people who are like min-maxers per se. So it's really hard for me to get that all done. And it's going to be a much more expensive project because, you got, whenever you're writing like a D&D book, you have to have tons of artwork. The cover to Festival of the Azure Moon, or just all of my covers in general, cost me about like $600 a piece. So to put that level of artwork throughout the entire book would cost ridiculous amounts of money. So if I'm going to make this book, I need to make sure that I have like a following based on my other books big enough to justify starting a Kickstarter to really get it going. And I'm not really quite there yet. I make enough from my books to like keep the lights on, but it's not enough to, I wouldn't say that I have a following big enough to justify a project like that. Not yet. But until then, once I have it like presentable and formatted, I will be releasing like a beta version for free so people can get excited about it. And you guys will be the first to know whenever that's out.
I don't like writing, like I don't like min-maxing personally as a player because I feel like it gets boring. You turn out to be a real Mary Sue kind of character. I don't like doing it. That being said, I'm fucking great at it. So if you want somebody to look through the mechanics and be like, well, this is how I can make somebody who would absolutely break your game, I'm your guy for that.
Sure. I would actually really appreciate that. I mean, like I said, I'm willing to give this thing out to anyone who wants to mess with it. Right now, it's basically just a Word document, but most of like the bare bones of the game are there. Like all the skeleton and the muscles are there. I just need some skin. You know what I mean? To make it.
I can dig it.
So, yeah, I'll send you a copy.
You made a comment about things never going the way that you write them out to go. I'm having to figure out the mechanics for raising dragons and planning on balancing sessions in the future on the possibility that everybody in like all 5 of my players might have at a certain point full-grown dragons. I don't know if they're just going to be used for transportation or if they're going to try to bring them into battle. They weren't really supposed to keep them, and they did, so I don't know what's going to happen, which is always a fun position to be in as a DM.
Well, how fast do the dragons mature?
So they're only 2 weeks old right now. They hatched during the last session, and then they're doing a caravan right now. So time is going by pretty quick right now. I don't know how old they'll be by the end of it, but they should be like to the extent of like big enough that they can be rode. So I don't know. We're gonna have to play it by ear.
Well, you could always just say they don't get their breath. I mean, because dragons aren't really that insane when it comes to physical power, but if you give them the breath, then that's
especially if they're
rough.
young dragons as opposed to like adult or ancient dragons. Even if they have their breath, it's probably not going to be the best option for them. But they'll have flying mounts, so there's that.
Are they intelligent, or are they just people? Like, are they intelligent dragons, or are they just, or like? 'Cause I don't know about your lore. I mean, I don't really know.
They're going to be full dragons, and the lore of this particular campaign is that dragons will be like capable of speech through draconic, maybe, But so they're just babies right now. I'm giving Ricky a lot of information for this session.
Oh, yeah, I forget. Sorry.
So there's only 3 dragons right now.
Paying attention. So.
There we go. That's the player's nature. Is like the nature of a player is to not pay attention. So you're doing good, Ricky. You're a natural.
I'm really good at not paying attention to our campaign.
You are a natural D&D player.
I hope y'all wrote notes.
What are notes?
Do you remember this guy from 6 sessions ago?
Nope.
I mentioned
we have one mom character who is played by the responsible one who's in the chat right now, and she does keep notes. So it doesn't matter that you don't take notes, Ricky, because Nicole's got you covered.
I do less than take notes. I don't even pay attention to anything that's going on. I'm going to get better at that, though. I promise.
As long as people remember stuff that pertains to them, because there's a lot of cool shit coming that I don't want to spoil. But I have plans based on your backstories, because that's the mark of a true DM, is to fuck with you.
Tell me all of your plans, but tell them to me in tongues. I'll understand because I'm Satan.
That makes sense. That tracks.
Well,
I'm sure that fucks with someone's theology out there, but that tracks.
Each player has a ganoush, and those ganoush have kabloyer to things that they wrote down. That's kind of given part of it away. But each of these ganoushes is going to have a thingamajig that does a doohickey. And with that doohickey will come blarflins from their panav. So it's going to be amazing.
I am blown away. I have to play this fucking game right now. Ricky, you are so blessed.
If you want to jump in, Justin's been saying in the chat that we should try to include you somehow.
We can make that happen.
It's okay. That's okay. I don't.
You want to play the Kobold Sorcerer? That's the hireling that we've got right now. You were talking about having a Kobold character, I think, didn't you? Wait, am I high? Hold on.
Yeah,
I thought you did. We have so they picked up. So that's another thing that wasn't really supposed to happen, but did. They picked up a Kobold hireling. So they and because he, Kobolds only have 5 health. I didn't want him to die. I gave him a class. Sorry, I gave him sorcerer class. So now he's got, I think, 20 health, and he probably won't die that quickly. His name is Vina, and he likes fire and shiny stuff.
Well, no, just I'm not really much of a player. I've always
the forever DM?
To be a player. Yeah, I have to be the DM. Every time I've tried to be a player, it's never really been, I don't know, just never been my cup of tea. But I enjoy listening to other people's games.
That's that's almost a blessing then. Having a DM who doesn't want to play, because most DMs want to play and they never get to. So if you're the kind of DM that doesn't want to play, that's top tier for your party.
I used to actually do it as a side hustle. I would get paid around $150 a session to DM dungeons, or just do modules for people, because it's that much of a demand. People want a DM that badly, but they don't want to do it, or they don't know how. So they will pay money for people to do it. I don't do it anymore. Nobody asked me, but because I'll just tell you right now, it's a nightmare of a vocation because like the second you try to monetize D&D, it starts to suck because, like as a DM, you have some kind of power over the game. You kind of have, an influence over what happens. The second that someone starts, paying you money, you kind of feel bad if you kill them. Like you will go out of your way in more ways than you're normally supposed to make sure that they are winning, not just that they stay alive, but that they are winning. And even if they don't ask you to do that, which some people did, they're like, hey, because he was like, they'd have a group of 4 people, but only one of them was paying him. Like, hey, these are the stats that I rolled, not these. And I'm like, okay, if you say so.
Wow.
Yeah, that players don't know what they want in that regard, though, because like you think that you want to win and always win and constantly win, but if there's no conflict and there's no fear of death, then the game gets stale. I tried very hard to kill Dustin in one of our last sessions.
But he kept him alive.
He survived despite my better efforts, but he was there were like 3 times where he was down below like 5 health, I think. So he was getting close. But so that's the thing is like I wanted it to be known every time that like Alicia got a critical hit with Vicious Mockery. I just wanted it to be known. I'm like, I am not being nice to y'all. The dice are. And that happened to Ricky too, where I like when I rolled the hit with the second time that Langdragosa fumbled, I backed away from the dice and I let Max, who was sitting next to me, my lovely wife, who's our cleric, I was like, please look at the dice because I want people to know that I am not the kind of DM that's going to just fudge a roll to keep you alive. I'm going to try to kill you. And I've just been having the worst luck of it.
Do you show them your rolls too?
Not all the time, but when it's like that, when it's happening where I'm fumbling over and over and over again, I'm like, these dice are going to jail, but I want somebody to see that it was a fumble and I'm not full of shit. That I'm not just like the nicest guy on the planet.
Yeah, I can't do that because like I said, with my system, it's 2d10. So if I roll 3 fumbles, they're not going to believe it unless they see it. Or if I roll a critical, if I roll 1 critical, they're not going to believe it unless they see it.
Mine's coming tomorrow. This is Max's dice tray, so it's got her character name and race class and little maces on it, and the maces are D12s. I thought that was cute. Hold on. But yeah, I've got one coming tomorrow that's for my my tiefling warlock that I never get to play. But yeah, I hate when a show kills a character. Oh, sorry. Vittershins in the comments is talking about Stargate Atlantis. It kills a character temporarily for a cheap emotional beat and brings him back a moment later. Well, you shouldn't watch television then because they do that constantly. Where shows and like comics will kill like a major character and you're like, you can't do that, and then they just come back in the next episode and you're like, you want to talk about shows that do that? How about fucking Supernatural?
Ooh.
How many times have Dean and Sam died?
Accurate.
Supernatural, God.
What?
It's a 15-season hate crime is what Supernatural is. Don't even get me started.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
How dare you? I love Supernatural. You don't like Supernatural? It does drag. That's why it's so hard to finish it. But I loved the earlier seasons, and I love Loki.
Yeah. I pretty much stopped at like season 6 or 7. Not because I lost interest, but because I got distracted by other shows and then just never finished.
I watched all the way to the 5th season, to the end of the 5th season, and then I just let my wife, she's a huge Supernatural fan, all the way through to the end. So she just tells me what happens. And the fact that Castiel and was it Dean didn't get together or didn't even like express that he was actually gay for him until the 15th season.
Like the last episode too, wasn't it? Something like that.
Spoiler alert! What?
It's been out for like a year. I haven't even seen it, and it was spoiled for me because it's been all over the internet. D-Steel confirmed.
I mean, yeah, seriously. If you watch like like 2 seconds of Supernatural. You know all the Tumblr memes. I wasn't even on Tumblr, and I know all the Tumblr memes. My wife won't let me unlearn them.
On Tumblr, she won't, like, since they took all the porn off, she won't let you on.
Well, no, she won't let me unlearn the Tumblr memes. Like, I'm trying to forget Tumblr, and she won't let me.
I will say that
even a thing after they removed all the porn. I don't understand how they still get traffic.
You know, fan fiction. It's fan
fiction, blogs and stuff, but it's not what I ever used it for.
I will say the depiction. So again, the depiction of Chuck is like the most accurate depiction of God for any like show, movie, TV show that I can think of at the very least. And then on top of that, the depiction of Lucifer, insofar as the Christian devil, I don't think there's been an actor that's played him better so far in TV.
I will give it
a close second is Bryan Cranston, and there was a 3-episode miniseries on Sci-Fi called Fallen, and Bryan Cranston played Lucifer, and he did a damn good job.
How about what was his name? Who played in Constantine?
I haven't actually seen Constantine. I need to.
The movie?
I haven't seen John Wick either.
Who are some in the comments? Who was it? The name who played Satan in Constantine? It was a pretty short role, but he was fucking brilliant. Like, he wore all white, but he had like black tar on his feet, and he like just the way he talked, his mannerisms, just fucking like goddamn. He was good.
Yeah, he was great.
The best part of the movie was him showing up at the end.
Oh, I know who he is. I know that guy. What the fuck?
All you gotta do is watch his scene.
Stormar.
I think it's on.
I think I want to watch that.
No, I watched it on HBO. Latest.
I want to watch that. I do. I want to watch John Wick. There's so much shit that I haven't like played.
Peter Stormare. That's right. There it is.
Fluffy boy, you need to lay down.
Lay down. I guess it's on Amazon Prime. Anyway, it's just, if it's not on Netflix or Hulu, it's like I gotta pay to rent it. What is this? The Dark Ages? Anyway, oh, you know what? I actually forgot about the show Lucifer. That's a pretty good depiction too. I don't think it's better than the Lucifer from Supernatural or I just fucking said it. Fallen, but still a damn good Lucifer. And then like less like the Christian understanding of Lucifer and more like slightly more accurate to the Bible's depiction of not necessarily Lucifer, but Samael, if Samael fell, which isn't really biblical. Sorry.
I think one of my favorite interpretations of Lucifer actually comes from that. God, what's the fucking name of that movie? Prophecy with the guy who wants the more cowbell.
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. Yeah, Christopher Walken is playing an angel who wants to stop. He wants to like stop Armageddon by killing this woman who's supposed to give birth to the Antichrist or something. I can't remember. He's like the bad guy, and Satan, who is played by, or I guess they call him Lucifer in here, who was played by the guy who played Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. He comes in for a little bit because I can't remember like what the context of the scene was, but he tells this woman like, "I am not your ally in this," and he just comes on with like only like maybe 3 minutes, but it was still one of the best, like most horrifying 3 minutes of the movie. Not because his appearance was crazy. He looked just like a normal guy, but like the way that he delivered his lines was utterly chilling without even a single drop of makeup. He just blew it out of the way. Y'all should check it out. It's an old movie. You want to see Christopher Walken with like jet black hair killing people with fire. It's a good movie. I'd recommend it.
Well, hell, apparently they made 5 of them. Jesus.
Oh yeah, the other ones are, you know how the 80s and 90s were, how like if one movie did good, they were going to make 4 more bad ones. That's exactly what they did with Prophecy.
Actually, there's another one that was similar to that. That was amazing. That was because Walken plays Gabriel. There was another one with either Gabriel or Michael, and it's like God is kickstarting the apocalypse, and Michael disagrees. So Michael willingly falls. Legion? Yeah. I'm gonna.
Michael and Gabriel are both, but Gabriel is the one who tries to sway or to like appeal to God and change his mind.
Yeah.
But Michael's the one who's like, yeah, no, fuck these humans. Let's kill them all.
This is the right one. This is the one with Paul Bettany.
That was one of the best B-list movies ever, though. Like Legion.
Can it be? It came out in 2010. I feel like that's after Paul Bettany got the role as Vision, and then Lucas Black got. I feel like one of his first roles was as the main character in Fast 3, which was the only one that I think is worth watching, which is Tokyo Drift. After Tokyo Drift, they started to do like the ridiculous shit with like submarine cars and
Tokyo Drift was the second one, not canonically, but like in order. I think Tokyo Drift was the second one to come out, wasn't it?
No, because they did Fast and then Too Fast, Too Furious.
Did they?
And then Tokyo Drift is number 3. How the fuck did we get from Dungeons and Dragons to like Constantine, Legion, and Prophecy to fucking?
In any case, the first Fast and Furious. The first Fast and Furious and Tokyo Drift were the only good ones. All the other ones are fucking garbage. Full stop. Yeah. All right, where are we at?
Just the the whole thing with like we're not family, we're blood. Like and they use that fucking a line similar to that in every single fucking movie after that.
Oh man. I've never seen one, but I don't know if I'm ever gonna know.
You've never seen
a Fast movie?
I've never seen a Fast and Furious movie.
The first one's worth watching. At least the first one's worth watching. It goes south pretty hard after that.
Tokyo Drift is not at all really. I guess it is technically. It's not connected to the others except for like the very last 10 seconds of it, you see Vin Diesel, and then like
Tokyo Drift is like fan fiction of Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Well, but then like one of the characters is I feel like he comes back in later movies because they canonically take place before Tokyo Drift. It doesn't make any. That's almost as convoluted as like the Mortal Kombat series in video games, as far as like
don't get me
their
started.
Chronology. I don't understand it at all.
I'll defend Mortal Kombat.
The first one's worth watching, but don't waste your time on any other ones. The first one's actually good, but yeah.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
You're going to defend Mortal Kombat? You talking about the games or the movies?
I'll defend the Mortal Kombat games till the day I die.
We're talking about the most recent movie. Don't get me started.
Oh yeah, don't get me started. Fuck that movie, man. Like,
it was garbage. The games crack me up. That I feel like they've done 3 or 4 reboots now, and it was like 9 was a reboot, and then they did 10, and now 11's a reboot too, technically. Yes. So it's great, and so I brought this up when we were talking about it the other day, that the dialogue makes slightly more sense, and the lines are not delivered in like the plastic kind of. This is a script and we're reading off of it way that the movie came across. That movie, every line in that movie except for like Kano's lines, it felt like they were box reading from a script. Like somebody was standing behind them with cue cards, and they like it was the first time they'd seen any of the lines.
Oh yeah, you know none of those actors had ever like actually watched or played a Mortal Kombat game in their entire life. Maybe Kano. Yeah.
Maybe Kano, for sure. Because I feel like if any of them had, then they, there's such characters that I feel like it'd be easy to play any one of those roles, and nobody did it.
Kano,
everybody was just like Kano generic ninja number 2. He was the Deadpool of that.
He reminded me of Deadpool. Like he was like the comic relief, the mercenary, the one who stole the show.
Yeah.
He checked all those boxes for me, while every other character was very two-dimensional. But him and Sonya Blade. I mentioned this before, but like Sonya Blade did a little bit better than everybody else, but not nearly to where Kano was. Like she was like second.
The problems her character had were not the fault of the actress because she was written very badly. It was like the whole. I feel bad saying this, especially being me, because gender is bullshit. But it was a very like female empowerment thing. But the problem with Hollywood is they don't know how to do female empowerment. And so they do like a very masculine version of female empowerment where they feel like strong women are only women who encompass like masculine traits and features. And so the whole thing was like, you're not in the boys club, Sonya, you go sit in the bleachers. And then she fucking, she gets to kick ass at the end of the thing. It's like, fucking Christ. It just comes across so token. Like, I fucking hated it.
I'm not gonna lie, I do struggle with that too. Like, it's one of those things. Is like if you're writing an action movie, you know that your target audience is gonna want, they want the action people. They want the Vin Diesel, the Rock, the big muscular badass dudes. But when you try and like you want to be inclusive, right? You want to make sure that you include women in your story, but the kinds of I find it really difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's like it's a challenge for writers, screenwriters, or it's a problem in the fantasy genre too. But writing in strong female characters that aren't just female versions of your big strong men, like you were describing.
Supergirl,
yeah, I see that.
Batgirl.
Yeah, it's very difficult because you only write what you know. And, I've never been a woman. I don't understand. Honestly, I have to get my wife to help me write my female characters because I struggle relating with the opposite sex or gender or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't, the people who aren't me, whether it's, anyone who's not me.
I feel like that's a mark of a good writer though, is like seeking out people who have those experiences and bouncing your ideas off of them to write more effectively. But I don't think anyone who was in charge of any part of the script of Mortal Kombat had ever met a woman.
No, they never tried. No, they definitely. Well, I'll tell you
I
this
think
much.
does a good job of that. Teen Titans. Like you have Starfire and Raven. Like they're not masculine versions of women. They're like something else entirely. Like they're unique, and they do a fucking good job at being whatever that is.
That's a good point.
I feel like they're good. I feel like most renditions of She-Hulk, because oftentimes they have female writers for She-Hulk. That it's not. She's definitely not just. Despite the name, she's not just the feminine Hulk. She has her own unique experiences and identity that differentiate her in altogether good ways.
Yeah, I never. In the whole Teen Titans example, that's actually really helpful because it's hard to find examples in popular media from a similar genre.
Just now.
Yeah, that's a good one. I might have to build off of that in the future. Use them as kind of like a model. I'm not gonna lie. One of the main characters in my book right now, she's kind of modeled very similarly to Sonya in a way, as someone who's strong in the physical sense.
This military general.
She is kind of military, and it's I guess what you consider like the police force of this world.
She's literally like a special forces general, like right. Like a very
Sonya,
stereotypically male role who's just made a female is very. I don't know if lazy is the right word, but it's
a stereotype.
Stereotype.
It's a stereotype of not only women of of the military. It's a stereotype of the military, of the special forces.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a scene in Mortal Kombat 11 that really kind of hits home the fact that she is a woman in a stereotypically male role in a way that isn't tokenism, where Johnny Cage sort of reprimands his younger self for treating Sonya as a piece of meat, and then like making some kind of snide comment about their daughter, where he's like, that girl that is the commanding officer of this unit type moment. That, I mean, it comes off slightly cheesy because very little of how they portray the military has anything to do with the military. But that moment was just kind of a way of like recognizing past issues and addressing them as Mortal Kombat addressing itself, really, to an extent. I put a link in the comments to a Cracked After Hours video back before Cracked was, became terrible, that sort of talks about feminine roles in Hollywood that are truly feminist, because oftentimes feminism in like movies is again portrayed as like women joining the boys club. It's like you don't need to be masculine to be a strong woman, or encompass traits that are traditionally considered to be masculine. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that Hollywood leans on it too heavily to tell feminist stories.
It's another great idea or example I just came up with. Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good example. Like she's a woman. She's about as a woman gets, but she's fucking badass. She kicks ass using her womanly nature, I guess. She doesn't really adopt any masculine traits whatsoever.
No, she takes hold of her sexuality, man.
Yeah, like exactly. And she uses that. Yeah. Gonna give myself a pat on the back for that one. That was a good example.
I'll give you one virtually.
There you go. Oh, wait, one side. There we go. Oh, feels good. I needed that. It's been a long weekend.
The video I posted explains why Super Troopers is a feminist icon movie. Like
the some people don't understand how anti-fascist that movie actually is.
That was a fucking cult classic. I do, and it's like in the video they address the fact they're like Super Troopers, the boner comedy movie from the early aughts, whatever, blah blah blah. And it's like, God, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the lieutenant, the female Veep, one of the only female characters in the movie, comes up with a plan to like bust the drug lords at the end of the movie that is so effective it works despite the fact that everybody else is pissed drunk. And I don't know, they made a comment about the German woman, and it's like she's not being used in those scenarios. She is fully in charge and in control of what she's doing. And that's something that they don't, for other characters, they don't portray very effectively in movies and TV shows. But yeah, I don't know. It's just an interesting little thing. I fucking love this series. There's like 64 videos. If I'm like having a bad day, I just put it on in the background on autoplay, and I'll just do nothing. That's kind of my happy place for the internet. Leave me alone. Don't judge.
We all have that. We all have that. All right, where are we at? We've covered a lot of ground, but we're over 2 hour mark now. I'm fucking passing the fuck out. I'm not gonna lie, because I haven't slept in 3 days because military shit. So yeah, where are we at? Is there anything else we want to talk about real quick?
Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah. What else do you want to plug, Scratch? We talked a little bit about your books. Where can people find those if they're interested?
Well, you can find my books on Amazon. I publish exclusively to Amazon. Festival of the Azure Moon or Where Magic is Born. Those are the two books I have currently released. One is Festival of the Azure Moon has an audiobook. The audiobook for Where Magic is Born should be coming out probably the end of summer. Let's see. My website, I can put it in the chat real quick on YouTube, is lawrencehicks.com or lawrencehicksauthor.com.
Yeah, do that.
If you want to. My name is spelled weird, so I can't really. Just saying it out loud doesn't really do any justice for it. But I'll put it in the YouTube chat. Let's see, what else do I plug? You can follow me on TikTok if you don't already, but I imagine that most of you already do. I also have a Twitch stream and a YouTube channel where I stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at 6:00. I stream it on TikTok. I'm live on TikTok. I play co-op games with my sister Tomcat, and on Saturday I just mostly chat and talk shit. So if you guys want to follow me on, it's Satanic Panic on YouTube, Satanic_Panic 616 on Twitch. You can find the links to all that in my TikTok bio. So.
Yeah. Oh, I like that reference to 616. We've talked about that a couple different times on the show, I think, in the difference between 666 and 616 as far as gematria goes.
Well, I learned that from you guys. I learned the majority of what I know today about the truth of Christianity from you guys. So it's really been a fantastic time being on here with you and actually getting to talk to you. And yeah.
Well, this is fun. We get technical and theological and philosophical and mythological a lot on our channel, but it's nice to just take a break and nerd out with someone that we enjoy as a content creator, such as you. So thanks, to you for coming on here and giving that for us. We really enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun. And I look forward to seeing more of you in the future.
What did I just do?
What did you just do?
My wife really likes your voice. I'm cool. Okay. And I'm followed. Sorry, I was trying to do the Twitch thing while we were talking, and it made me do the stupid confirmation number thing. But no, Max really likes your voice, Satan.
You do have a nice voice.
Does she like my voice now?
Even better.
Oh yeah, no.
I think my penis just wiggled a little bit.
Yeah, there's some twitches going on.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, no, I'm subscribed on Twitch now. Definitely want to check that out. I had something and it went away. You ever have a thought and it just kind of flits out of your fucking brain?
No, never. Not even once.
I haven't had one of those in a long time.
Don't know what that's like.
ADHD as fuck.
Well, anytime you guys want to chat, you got my messengers. You message me on Instagram or on TikTok or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. We'll keep that in mind. We'll have you on again, hopefully sometime in the future.
If you ever want to jump in on a Q&A, just let us know and we can shoot the shit.
Yeah, we do Q&As on Thursdays, same time, and we're pretty much open to anyone just jumping in and hanging out with us.
We've had 3 now. Haven't we had 3 now? We've had Jeff,
Matt,
and Lilith.
And Lilith, yeah. Yeah, that's been fun. I want to keep doing that. Breaks up the monotony.
Sure thing. Yeah. I'll jump in. I don't know if I can answer any questions like you guys, but I'll pose them.
That's another thing, is just having people on that can pose questions to us directly. It's very helpful as opposed to trying to dig through the chat for them. But yeah. I don't know. I'm like looking around on the ground, like the question that I had is going to fucking pop out of a drawer and assault me and be like, "Oh, that was what it was." Fuck it.
It'll come to you at like 3 a.m, just after you've gone to sleep, and you'll wake up and have a nightmare and be like, that's what I was trying to say.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks everyone for attending. Thanks again, Scratch, for joining us. This was special. It was fun. I enjoyed it, and look forward to whatever we choose, whatever happens in the future. So to everyone who has been watching, have a good night. We're gonna wrap things up here. Stay tuned for whatever the fuck we decide to do on TikTok tomorrow and the day after and whatever, and our live Q&A on Thursdays.
And then Thinking Christian, the 23rd, next Sunday.
Yes, he'll be our first Christian to come on our show.
And the topic is Christian intellectualism.
Christian intellectualism or Christian misunderstanding. Christian intellectualism and misunderstanding of how the Bible works. He worded it. He was pretty extra with how he worded it, but that's pretty much what it was.
That's a very long title.
It is. We're going to have to jump that
intellectualism might be an oxymoron, but we'll see how that plays out.
I cannot wait to hear what this guy's got to say about Christian intellectualism.
Yeah,
I do like him.
I do too. That's what we're having him on. Like we respect him as an intellectual.
Then I definitely can't wait.
He's open to the fact that the Bible is full of shit.
Yeah.
He's just specific in how, which is interesting. So that's next week.
And we're going to seek to understand that. Because we're not an echo chamber here.
Well, we're trying not to be.
Try not to be.
All right.
There's very few Christians out there that will allow us to not be that. And so far, he's the only one. But yeah. I'm really bad at ending shows. Are either of y'all better at ending shows than I am? Because I'm just about to say goodnight and bye and hang up.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a good way we can end it. I can drag you guys. I think it's about time that we, made the Christians happy.
Because I'm dragging you both to hell right now. You atheist bastards. Your time has come.
I've earned
this
that.
Would have been a perfect time to have like a fiery overlay and fade to black and then do the outro. I'm not quite that prepped.
We'll get there one day. It's a process. This is still a new show. We're still learning.
Joke's on you, Satan. I can do that without audio. Soundboard. What's the word I'm looking for? Fuck.
Modulation. Never mind. I changed my mind.
Sorry.
I changed my mind. I don't want to. Just stay here.
All right, guys. I'm out for realsies. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Thanks again. This was fun. Let's do it again sometime.
All right. Well, goodbye.